Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Jeanne White is the producer. It is Friday, March 27th, and I have a very special guest with me. Before I introduce my guest, I want to say that it's a small world because Pastor Rick is a friend of Matt's. They have a mutual friend, which I did not know. And Pastor Rick's church, Union County Baptist Church in Clark, New Jersey, showed an outpouring of love and support to Josh and I. Josh started going to this church, I think, in May or June. Mm-hmm. We're not members yet, and yet the outpouring of love was such a testimony of what they believe in and who they are. And I just can't, thank Pastor Rick and the members of Union County Baptist enough. Josh received rides. People came up to pray with us, showed support, and did a meal train. And welcome, Pastor Rick. Thank you so much. You have a great church there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much. And you are the first person that I'm interviewing that's not a caregiver.
Well, I first did something finally.
Unless you were, and I don't know. But I'd like to know, I know that you are doing the Bible study and Sunday morning service via Facebook or live streaming.
Right.
How is this pandemic affecting you ministering to the members of the church in the neighborhood?
Well, I have to tell you, Betsy, I thought they taught us about everything there was in Bible college, but they kind of neglected pandemics.
Yes.
Yes. This has been quite the experience, quite the learning experience for me, and I'm sure for just about every pastor out there. None of us who are alive today have ever pastored through a pandemic before. This is absolutely new territory for all of us. The last one that had anything like this, there's been pandemics, of course, but the last one that was anything similar in severity was the Spanish flu back in 1918. So that was over 100 years ago. So it
right.
has definitely changed everything for us, so practically overnight.
Yes. I would imagine you can't visit sick members in the hospital, or are they letting clergy people in?
As far as I know right now, they are not letting anybody. It really depends on the hospital, I suppose, but they really are discouraging it. They don't want anybody to come in. Maybe I have not personally had anyone that was on death's door or anything like that. Matter of fact, we've been very blessed in that I don't believe there, as of right today, I do not believe anybody in our congregation has actually contracted the virus. Several of them have people that they know, or people that they know that have got it, but they themselves have not. So I haven't had that experience yet. I would think just because our area here is heavily Catholic, and of course they practice the last rites, things like that. I imagine they are letting the priests go in, so they probably would let clergy in that instance. But I haven't had an opportunity yet to test that.
Well, that's good.
And to be honest with you, I would highly recommend to most people, I know you want to go see your family and friends and things like that, but considering how contagious this virus is, it's probably best that you stay out of the place where there are a lot of people who are sick.
Yes, absolutely. I even heard that if someone were to go to the emergency room, their loved one is not allowed to go back
right
there to be with them.
Right. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if you go in, in many cases anyway, if you were to go to see someone, especially if they have the coronavirus, if you go to visit them in the hospital, many people would find that their job would tell them they have to take a mandatory 2 weeks off and be in isolation. Because I know that's something I've been told by a lot of people, that their jobs have instructed them, if they have been in the close proximity of anyone who has the virus, they are not allowed to come back to work for 2 weeks.
Yes, I have heard that. It's pretty kind of scary out there.
Yes.
How do you minister to the people who are sick at home? I would just imagine a phone call.
Well, there's of course the old-fashioned phone call. It still works.
Right.
The postal service is still working as well. So we are falling back on some old tried and true methods. But as I said, a lot of things have changed. I mean, we've always our congregation has always given out a lot of tracts and things such as that to people. Well, now if you get close to somebody, they try to run from you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And really, you don't want to get too close to anybody either. So that's been difficult to do. So now we're looking more into expanding into doing more on the internet, the social media, such things as that. I mean, businesses have been doing it for a long time. Churches are often, hate to say this, but we are often the last ones to be drug kicking and screaming into the next century. And we don't like to change things. We don't like to go away from what's familiar. But, that has been the history of Christianity ever since it began. Change, that is. As a matter of fact, Christianity itself was a huge change to those first century believers. It was completely different from everything that they had ever believed before, and so and it's continued to be that way down through the centuries. It's just we only think of something as being a big change because we haven't experienced it ourselves in the past, but it has often, a lot of the things we do today are actually very, very big departures from, say, what our great-great-grandparents would have had when they went to church.
That's very true. Very true. I know some people would say this is a sign of the last days, a pandemic. Do you have a opinion on that?
Yeah, I actually do. Here's the thing. Jesus said, when he was asked, what was going to be the sign of the end of the world, the last days, his disciples asked him that. And he told them such things as, you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. And, boy, we hear that all the time. There's either a new war cropping up or there's a rumor that they're about to go to war, right? And then he said there'll be earthquakes in divers places, and there'll be sicknesses and things like that. And then he said something very interesting. He said, but the end is not yet. In other words, what he was really saying is, you're going to have all these kind of things. There's no promise that the world is going to be perfect. Matter of fact, it's far from perfect. We actually, to be perfectly honest with you, God never even called this world perfect. When he created it, he said it was good. There's a big difference. And there's never been any promise that everything was going to be perfect. And there is, matter of fact, there was a promise that there's going to always be problems and troubles because we are living in a sin-cursed world. And we have an enemy who's out to destroy us, Satan. And we're going to have all kinds of problems. Because we continue to be sinful creatures given over to sin. As a result, these things are going to happen. So is this a sign? I'll put it to you this way. It could be, but it doesn't mean that, this is the last days. It doesn't mean that this particular pandemic is signaling the end. However, I'll clarify that and say, as we get closer to that time, whenever it is, I think we're going to see more and more and more of them. So they if they're not a sign that, hey, Jesus is coming soon, it is a red flag to remind us to be on watch for it, because his coming is imminent. He could come at any time. But I don't think there's going to be a sickness that's going to necessarily announce it, an earthquake, any of those things. All of those things were, according to Jesus, were going to actually happen. But he said, but don't let anybody deceive you. He said the end is not yet. Does that make sense?
Yes, perfect sense. And, as humans, we think we're in control, the climate, global warming, but we're not in control. God is always in control.
Now, about the time we think we are so powerful and so great, God sends a little tiny microscopic bug that none of us can even begin to see, and it absolutely flattens every country on the face of the planet. And I was just looking right before we got on this call. The United States officially now has the most cases of any country in the world of coronavirus. We have more than China. We have more than Italy. We have more than any other country. Just looking at it right here, right now, 96,968 cases.
Wow.
Which China was only 81,000. And Italy is 86, so they're trying to keep up, but they're falling behind. We have plenty, and according to this, new cases that have just come on the last 24 hours, 11,533 new cases. And that's just in the last 24 hours. So,
it's mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just shows you, though, that we think we are so great and so powerful. And God, I think when we say that we think that way to ourselves, God starts laughing and says, let me just show you what I can do with just one little bug.
Yes, God's timing is always perfect.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I am, as much as I miss Matt, and I wish he was here in a way just to give me a hug, because sometimes I get nervous with this. I'm so glad he's in the glories of heaven, and that this virus happened after he passed away, because if I couldn't have seen him, I think it would have snapped, and I wouldn't have gotten the support, because nobody would have been able to come up.
No.
And it was, it was just, you can't argue with God's perfect timing. They say, well, there's a Yiddish proverb, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah. That's so true.
So I don't like to say my plans anymore.
No, no. Always qualify them by saying, if the Lord will.
Yes, definitely. People are getting bent, out of control. It should be taken seriously and doing the precautions and staying at home. And I went out to our local shop right in Woodbridge today, and it was pretty empty. There was meat, but there wasn't any paper products or cleaning products.
Still no toilet paper,
Right, still no toilet paper. And I'm finding myself getting a little paranoid, thinking, does that person have the virus? Does that person have the virus?
Oh, you can't help but wonder.
Yeah.
It's natural.
And, do you wonder that when you go out?
Oh, of course. How can you not?
Right.
Because somebody could have this thing for a week or more and not have any symptoms, not know it themselves. So you and I could both have it right now, and we wouldn't know for maybe another week. you know. So,
That's
right. What do you do? You take the precautions. You do what you need to do to avoid it as best as possible, and you leave it in God's hands and live your life. I mean, I do not believe, nor am I going to start believing in living in fear.
Right. Absolutely.
Taking precautions is not being fearful. It's prudent, but I'm not going to let the fear take over to the point where I hide away, locked in my house, away from everything and everybody. I'm not going to go out any more than I absolutely have to, but neither am I planning on starving to death.
Right. Excuse me. That's right. I'm staying home more than I usually do. I only go out to the store myself and the pharmacy, and I have my antibacterial gel. I finally remember to put gloves in my car. I have gloves left over from that I'm using. And, I see people with the face mask, but it's recommended that if you aren't sick, that you shouldn't wear a face mask because then you're more prone to touching your face and correcting the mask. I mean, if you are at a high risk, by all means, wear a mask. But if you're not, that's why there's a shortage of the personal protective equipment for these nurses and doctors.
Well, people went out and hoarded them. People hoarded them immediately. And some of them were out of fear because they were afraid of what they would have happen, and others were just simply saying to themselves, I'm going to try to make a lot of money off of this. And that's what's happened. I mean, we've all seen the pictures of people walking out of shopping centers with shopping carts loaded, piled higher, taller than what the people are that are pushing the carts of toilet paper and things like that. And, that's just simply hoarding is all it is for whatever reason that they're doing it. And it's not helping by any stretch. I've yet to figure out exactly why people think, though, they need to stock up on the toilet paper so bad.
I know.
Never has made any good sense to me.
That's ridiculous. I was lucky I found some last week in ShopRite and CVS this past week. I'm finding I have to go to more than one store to get things, but if I see it, I get it, but I definitely am not, hoarding because now they are starting to, limit you to one or two packages of certain items. I can't even find any disinfectant cleaning products. They're just like wiped off the shelves. And then you see the, a situation like this, you could see the goodness of people, then you also see the other side, how selfish people can be.
Oh, yes. Quite a bit of that.
People complain about, I have to stay home. Like, that's not really a big sacrifice.
No.
I go back to, World War II. My dad was in the Navy, and he was asked to serve his country. Well, actually, they volunteered back then. They were drafted. They were called to sacrifice their life. We're only asked to sit on the couch or be in our house.
I know. We're far too spoiled here in the United States. Far too spoiled.
Yes, and we take so much for granted. Even going to church and going to get our hair done. I mean, just going to the store, having products available. We don't realize how fortunate we are because in other countries you actually have to wait in line to get in the store and a long line and, wait for products. So God bless America.
Absolutely.
And Pastor Rick, I have to tell the listeners, that was so nice of you to let Josh sing a song dedicated to his dad. That was really nice.
Oh, he did a good job.
He did. I was so proud of him. Would you like to talk about the outreach of Union County Baptist Church and what you offer as far as like Sunday school when there's no pandemic?
When there's no pandemic. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, things are a lot different right now. We do have a Sunday school for the various ages. We have a couple of adult classes. One of them is more of a basic Bible doctrines type class where they learn and everything through the Bible and get an overview of it. That one is a class that you're in for a period of time. Once you're finished with it, you can take it again if you want. We've actually had people do that, but then they move on to one of the other classes. Sunday morning services, of course, 11 o'clock. We have the regular service, and that's kind of a blended type of service. We use some of the old music and a lot of the new music too. Then we don't have an evening service on Sundays, but the Wednesday night we have a Bible study, prayer meeting, Bible study. We do both, and that is we have been putting that on as of this last Wednesday. We started putting that on the group page for our church, so that's out there. Also trying to put everything on our website. I'm finding out a lot of things through this time period that it worked in the past. Everything worked okay, so if it works, you don't fix it. Now I'm finding out that a lot of things we have to change and replace to make it do more things that we're trying to do now with the virus situation, such as just the simple thing of uploading videos. I've had to work on the web page to get it to accept that because it was not geared for that. Then we also have a program on Friday evenings throughout the school year, which we call Discovery Club. Discovery Club is a kids program. Goes from about 4 years of age on up through about 6th grade. It's kind of a little bit like a Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts type of program. They come, they have workbooks that they use. They have game time, craft times, things, all of this throughout it, and they are able to earn different kinds of badges, which we give them a little vest that they wear, and they put those on. And really good program. It's every Friday night. I most every Friday night. There are a few exceptions to that, but I tell people when they're thinking about bringing their kids, look, it's 2 hours of free babysitting on a Friday night where you can go out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
and it's free. We don't ask for anything. We want just be a blessing. Anybody can come. Doesn't matter if they're a part of our church or not. We welcome them. So those are the main corporate type ministries that we have. Of course, we have other things. We do visitation. We've been looking into. We haven't found any yet that in our area that is willing to add any more services, but we've been trying to set something up with nursing homes. But that is, as of yet, we haven't found one that is ready. And of course, right now with the virus situation, they don't want anything in there, and I can understand that. So like I said, this virus has changed a lot. So many of the things we have been doing, we now look at them and say, is this the way we're going to continue? Are we going to, once this virus is over, depending on how long it stays, it is going to change a lot of things. It's going to change a lot of the way people do things. It's going to change a lot of the way people see things. there's going to have to be a lot of procedures possibly that are going to change in not only in ministry but in business. I've already heard somewhere that Amazon has said that once this virus is over, they're planning on hiring many more drivers, because they figure that by the time the virus is done, people will be doing much more buying online than they already are. So
yes, I could say that.
And this is where things are going, and and to be honest with you, the social distancing and things, this is something that many people were already working on prior to anybody ever thinking about a pandemic. I don't know if you've ever gone into Dunkin' Donuts and seen those people that come in. They walk over to the end of the counter, they pick up a bag or they pick up a coffee, and they walk right out.
Right, the mobile ordering.
Right.
Yes.
Well, the reason they developed that, I was told by someone who was high up in the Dunkin' Donuts, their management. He said they did research into where they thought everybody was going, and they found that what was on many of the young people's minds today was they didn't want to have interaction. They wanted to be able to, on the go, to punch in what they want, walk in the store, have it already paid for, and they walk right out without ever having to interact with anybody. So that's why they developed that system, and why many others are doing it. So to some degree, some businesses were much more ready for this pandemic than others were. But that's the way things have already been going. And I try to follow trends. I try to see where things are going. I'm not always the best one at keeping up on them, but I do try to see how things are progressing and try to realize when there are things that do need to change. And we're looking at that now. We may see that there will be another big change in the way churches conduct their services, how they do ministries, how some ministries new ministries may come out of this that nobody's ever thought of before. And I'm both a little trepidatious and excited at the same time about it.
Yes, there's other businesses that do the mobile ordering where you just,
right.
do it on your app. And churches have been doing your live stream, especially your bigger churches who could afford all that technology. And businesses are doing more Zoom meetings, teleconference, which saves them travel expenses. People working from home, it saves them wear and tear in their car and money for gasoline. And this could be the new way to conduct businesses. I heard that business for places such as Zoom and other internet meetings are on the uprise equipment to do such meetings or on the uprise. I mean, your churches had to, I guess, update their software. So people are updating their software so they can do this live streaming. So
well,
things
are having changed. Now, at the same time, there are some things that I don't think really ever should change. Like I think, of course, right now it's a safety issue, and it's the best thing to not have the services at the building like what we did. But one of the purposes of a church, there's several different purposes the Bible gives. One of those, a very important one, is fellowship. And that's hard to get over the Internet. That's hard to get from watching something, even if it's live. It's hard to get that fellowship with one another. So, I'm looking forward to being able to get back to having services where we can all come together and we can worship God together, because that's a vital part of the purpose behind having a church where believers come together, they pray together, they worship God together. It's always been the case in the Bible that was stressed all the way through, and in the New Testament it tells us not to forsake the assembling of ourselves. Some have asked, is that what we're doing here when we don't have services? No, we are following as best we can the guidelines for safety. We're following, like I said, being prudent. No sense in putting anybody at risk, especially our older people. I mean, I might not be that much at risk. You might not be that much at risk. Others may not be, but would we possibly carry that to someone who could have a serious health issue? That was where I was at with it, and why we decided, even before the governor said all gatherings were to be ceased, we'd already made the decision that we were going to postpone services until this virus was over. But, it needed to be done. There was no way around that. I didn't want to see anybody here end up with it, and I didn't want to, if anybody did get it, I didn't want to have to be trying to convince myself the rest of my life that a stubborn determination to just continue having church services was the cause of it. I didn't want to be blaming myself forever either. So, but I do believe it's important to get back to going to church. I believe those right now, those who may be listening, if your church is not having services, if they are doing the internet streaming, great. Take advantage of that. If they're not, maybe they don't know how. If they need help with that, I can tell you there are tons and tons and tons of videos right now on YouTube and other places to walk you through how to do it. Don't call me because I'm still figuring it out myself. Okay? I could probably tell you everything that doesn't work, but I'm still figuring it all out too. But there's plenty of help that's available. I know I've seen several of those videos where people have even said, look, I know many churches are having problems. I'm available. Send me your questions. I'll help you with it. There are lots of resources, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to do live streaming. It may not be up to the standards of some other church that's been doing it for years and years and has spent tens of thousands of dollars on equipment. But if you have a cell phone and internet, you can get a live stream going. It's not that hard to do. It can be a little hard sometimes getting everything set right, figured out, but you don't have to have a lot of investment to be able to do that. But once this is all over, if your church is having it or if they're not, make sure you don't sit out of church. Don't get used to sitting home. Make sure you get back there, because it's very important not only that you hear the word, but that you have it together, because the fellowship with one another is a vital part of the reason that we have church at all.
That's right. And now that I'm fully rested, I'm going to be going back to church. Josh really misses going to church, and he was so disappointed about the group sold out, not coming.
Yes.
And, of course, Easter, not having Easter service.
And I'm glad you mentioned that too. For those that may be listening, we had a musical group coming on Palm Sunday. They travel the country. They're full time. They sing gospel music. They're great. These guys, this is all they do for their living, and they could make a whole lot more if they wanted to be professional musicians, but they do this for God. It's a ministry. Well, because so many churches had to close, their whole schedule got wiped out. And the last I talked with them, they were all going out and trying to find any kind of job that they could just to get them past this time so they could start rescheduling again. Let's remember that there's a lot of ministries outside of just your church that might be hurting. And I know some of you are hurting too right now. Maybe you're one of those people that is out of work as a result of this. But let's not forget one another, okay? Don't forget everybody else. Don't just be focusing on yourself in this time. That's one of the worst things we can do. We're all part of the family and we all of God, and we all have to stick together.
Amen. How true. And, I my previous shows before, Pastor Rick, I had talked about how places of worship can really minister, after this pandemic is over, of course, to the caregivers, to the people who are shut in. Mm-hmm. And if someone, who was faithful in going to church and can't because
right.
of whatever illness they have, mm-hmm. they shouldn't be shunned or, no. be forgotten about. No. And I think that's a great way to reach people and a testimony. Mm-hmm. I was not going to church because I couldn't go with Matt, and Josh still went. And when Josh was telling me to come home and tell me how much he enjoyed going to Union County Baptist Church, and then just saying the testimony, really I can't help but testify that drew me to come to visit. And I, for one reason after another, hadn't been able to, but after this pandemic, I'm going to start going regularly on Sundays as much as possible because it was really a blessing to me.
Be glad to have you.
And the people were very loving and supportive.
Well, that is the goal we try for. We try for.
Yeah.
I don't know if you looked at the website too much. On the first page, the home page, it has the little video welcoming you, and right underneath it, there's something that should pop up right away, and it says there's just a white bar, and it says, "We're more than just a church. We're a family." We mean that. Our goal is to have no one be able to come back a second time and be a stranger. I don't want anybody to walk in there twice and nobody know who they are. Because that's just not who we are. That's not what we want to be. And we don't want that to happen. Now, sometimes people have a tendency to run in, after you start and run out before you finish. Try not to meet anybody. So that's kind of hard to do much about. But for the most part, we try to make sure everybody feels like they're welcome. We want them there. We want to be friendly. We want to get to know them. We don't want them to have to feel like they're a stranger if they come back. And we want them to come back. And that's the way we want people to feel like they're home when they come here.
Yes, I did. I was really very impressed. You have a lovely family. You're very blessed.
Yes, I am.
It's casual. You could be casual,
yes,
and it's just down to earth. It's a very down to earth church with down to earth people, and I would suggest to anyone who's in this area of where we live in Middlesex County,
Union County.
Check out Union County Baptist Church in Clark.
Yeah,
do you have a website?
Make sure you add yes, we do, ucbc.net. Make sure you add Union County now. Believe it or not, I've had people call before and say, now listen, I don't live in Union County. Can I still come? Yes, you can.
Yes.
But it's perfectly fine. County. It doesn't matter what county you come from. And we've had people, Betsy, we've had people come from a long way. I've had people come all the way from Trenton area.
Wow.
Come here to church. So, it's there. People do come a distance, but it's because we're right there on the Parkway, And it's not a where it might be a little bit further in miles, but some people tell me that they can come to our church quicker than they can go across town to another one. So, we're conveniently located right on exit 135 off the Parkway. So if you can get to exit 135, you will find the church because it's right there, right next door to it. People can find it very simply. It's not hard to find, and we get lots of people visiting who've just said, I drove by and saw the church. I've been driving by it maybe for years, and they finally come in. And I always say to them, well, what took you so long?
What? It's so funny in a way that's full circle, because I went to Ewing County Baptist for youth activity before I even knew Matt. And here I am back. It's just
good.
How God works and God's timing. I told Josh, I have to tell the story. Josh was going to go to get his hair cut, but the place was closed, so he was mad. I said, well, Josh, it wasn't meant for you to go that day. We go the week after, and we see Richie. And Richie told Josh about Union County Baptist and that he would pick him up. I said, you see, Josh, you see that God didn't want you to go that Saturday. He wanted you to go when Rich was going to be there. You see how that works?
Right.
And that's how Josh started to go. And he really, was telling me how great it was. And he said, I wish you could go, and maybe you could go, after Daddy is gone. And the second Sunday I went, I think you were out sick. You had Pastor Bill Bradley. And I'm thinking to myself, Bill Bradley, where do I know him from? He was friends with Pastor Horton. And I said, weren't you friends with Pastor Horton? And you had an open air campaign like back in the early 80s? And he said, yes. I said, my husband was there. Matt went to an open air campaign. I think they had it by the park next to Central Baptist Church in Avenel, for people who don't know. And it was so nice to see him again. And I was like, wow, it is really a small world, because you knew Bill Bradley too.
Well, I think that was actually Art, Brother Art.
Brother Art. Oh, I thought it was Bill Bradley. I'm sorry, Art Williams. Yeah. Oh my
Art
goodness,
Williams, right?
Art Williams.
Yeah,
not Bill Bradley.
I know why you're getting them confused though. It's simple to do, but they both do outdoor type things.
Yeah, and they both knew Pastor Horton.
They would.
yeah, Art Williams. Sorry about that. Scratch that, Jeannie. It's Art Williams.
Brother Art fills in a lot if I can't be there. I think that was the week I had that weird bug.
Yeah.
Actually, almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Art Williams. That's right. It was really nice to to see him. I had Bill Bradley on my mind. He might have passed away. I don't know, but it's really nice, when you see people, and I was like, oh yeah, Matt went to an open air meeting, and it was just a nice memory. It kind of got teary-eyed, but it was really a nice memory to know that Matt took part of that.
Yes.
Many years ago. And I want to thank you, Pastor Rick, for coming on. I really appreciate
my pleasure.
You spending the time. And maybe you could come on sometime again.
Oh,
I'm
sure,
very honored.
Anytime. Be glad to.
Thanks a lot. Okay, everyone, this is Betsy Wurzel, host of Chatting with Betsy. We had Pastor Rick of Union County Baptist Church in Clark, New Jersey, on as my guest today. And folks, shine light, shine bright, stay home,
That's right.
Stay well, be safe, And you can follow me on my personal page, Betsy Wurzel, Wurzel. And Pastor Rick, does Union County has a page on Facebook?
Yes, it's Union County Baptist Church in Clark.
If you want to, if you want to go on there and learn about Union County Baptist, if you're in the area that we're in, please check it out. And
also they can go to ucbc.net. That's our church webpage, and I think they'll get a little more information possibly there too. And they can download some videos, things like that, Bible study notes, things of that nature. That's all on there.
I'll have to check out that website myself.
Please do.
I might have. I'll have to check it out again.
Please do. Any suggestions you have, I'm open to them. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
It really was a blessing having you on and talking to you. I appreciate it. And folks, if you have dementia or you know someone who has dementia or you're a caregiver or just want to learn about any kind of dementia, you're welcome to join my Facebook group page, #Kick Alzheimer's Ask Movement. We accept people with any dementia, all walks of life. If you want to come learn, be inspired, be educated. And till I talk again on the air, have a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.